good evening and welcome everyone. Those of you that I don't know, which is probably not too many. Again, my name is Dayton Hanson. I'm our Chief Operating Officer here at ICL Academy. We've got Kirk Spahn, our president and founder, and then our guest of the evening and kind of the main focus, and that's Wyndham Clark, not only former U.S. Open champion, but currently Wyndham, keep me honest, number 6 ranked in the world at this point, right?
Yes.
Right. Soon to be number 1 again. We're pulling hard, so
Yep.
we're waiting for it this year. So that said, we're excited to have everyone on tonight. Those of you that are joining us, as always, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. We will moderate that to the best of our ability. If for some reason we don't get a chance to, in essence, answer your question that you ask Wyndham, we're going to get with him on the side after the fact. We'll shoot those questions over, and Wyndham has graciously offered up the opportunity maybe to share some responses on the side, and then hopefully in the future join us again. So we got about a half an hour with Wyndham. We're going to do our best to jump right in. So Wyndham, with that said, thanks again, first and foremost, for joining us. It really means a lot.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into the first question. I'm gonna kick us off, then I'm actually gonna have Kirk ask a few questions, and then I'll get us wrapped up as well. So Wyndham, it was clear early on that you developed a passion for golf, and that kind of morphed into a part of your purpose, in essence, a higher purpose. When did you know that your passion for golf was kind of part of your purpose in life as well?
I knew, honestly, I felt like at a very young age. I think I was very blessed to play at a nice club where I could kind of stay there all day, and I was about 10 minutes away from my house, and I was rode my bike to and from the golf course to get there. So I could come home whenever I wanted to, and I loved putting late at night, and I loved practicing making that winning putt and sensing that this is what I wanted to do. And I remember how kind of honestly spiritual those moments were, just because you're out there alone, no one else is out there, the sun's setting, it's almost basically dark. Sometimes I'd even put a phone or flashlight in the cup, and when you start visualizing and focusing on that mental side of the game, it kind of takes you to a higher level. And so that's kind of one of the first times that I felt like, man, this is something I really want to do. And then, I would say as my mom passed, and it kind of created this whole play big in my, this motto of play big. That's when I really felt like I had a foundation and a chance to really use my gifts and abilities and hopefully my successes in golf to help others and share to others and tell them my story. But not only that, but also to be there for them and hopefully inspire them.
It's you just hit on the head. So many elements. When you think about going back to being a young Wyndham, jumping into that, it's a big decision, right? Because you can be passionate about something, but knowing that feeling of when, oh wait, this is different. Like I have a chance. Like was there a mindset shift going from sort of I'm a good ranked junior player to, oh, I'm now going to go to college, and then wait, I may have a shot at the pros. If you can talk about maybe the kind of mental, physical, I guess the journey of following that purpose with the process.
Yeah. So, I started off playing Colorado. I'm born and raised in Denver, and I started having some success in Denver, Colorado. And, at that time, you always think you're better than you are. And I was having a lot of success in Colorado and winning a handful of tournaments. And then I finally got my first taste of AJGA kind of national level golf. And that's when I realized, wow, there's kids out there that are a lot better than me, and I've got to get a lot better. And that kind of lit a fire within me to want to get so much better, and led me to those nights of wanting to spend extra time and be a gym rat and be the first one on the golf course, last one to leave. And so that kind of went all through middle school into high school. And really after my freshman year going into my sophomore year, that summer I had a really pretty good summer as a young kid. And that's when I had all these colleges looking at me. And I think when, it's one thing when you get your local colleges, but when you start getting the top schools, and one of the schools ultimately that I decided to go to, which was Oklahoma State, which is perennially one of the best schools in the country, I was like, wow, maybe I am a lot better than I think, or where I'm at, and saying, okay, I have a chance to go do something really cool. And so that was kind of that first jump where I felt like, okay, this could become a reality. And then I would definitely say in college, I had two really, really good years. My redshirt freshman year and then my senior year. And I remember my redshirt freshman year, after that year, I had agents kind of contacting us and saying, hey, you know, we're thinking about, we really would love to represent you. And I remember that and going, whoa, now that's that's another jump. And so, you know, and then obviously in my senior year, when that really became a reality and I had an amazing year and you actually signed with somebody, that's when you're like, wow, I have a chance to play on the PGA Tour. And, you know, I got a handful of starts out of college on the PGA Tour. And it's like, now the dream kind of becomes a reality. And so there's those kind of two big jumps. And, you know, it's within that though, there was a lot of downs too. I mean, there's some definite ups that were amazing, but there's a lot of times when, you know, I contemplated quitting the game, being frustrated that things weren't going my way. You know, I had a temper back in that days. I still do, but I showed it more outwardly than I do now, maybe. And so yeah, it's definitely not an easy road, and there's no yeah. I mean, for some people, maybe they come onto the scene really quick, but there's always adversity especially in golf. There's so much adversity, so you have to become the best at handling adversity, not just at handling successes.
So can we go into that? You are hitting on the head, because you know when we do these champion webinars, this is about life, right? It's not just golf. It's how you approach everything that you do. So whether it's school, in anything, and we focus on a thing called Yoda, not the cute little Jedi guy or baby Yoda, but being your own decision advisor, like your own like being, you know, that element where something switches and it's really it's you. Those nights of you putting. Can you help people to understand, like, you're seeing these wins, but you're putting the work in, right? Like, so it's, I mean, it goes hand in hand, right? So, you know, sometimes you take steps back. Can you go back to maybe in that process, what was a process you had and how has that process evolved and changed over the years? Because you're perennially a super hard worker, your reputation precedes yourself, but maybe you can shed some light on what that is. And when you had those downs, that Yoda, like what pushed you to keep going on? Like what were those like key things that you held on to?
You know, at a young age, I'd say kind of in, um, let's call it middle school into high school age, was honestly just that burning desire to want to be the best. So I had these you know, little pitfalls, and I'd be frustrated and mad. And then, you know, I was mentored at a young age by Chauncey Billups, a great basketball player. And Chauncey always told me, every bad day, you always take a shower after you play. And he goes, you wash it down the drain and it's over. And so you move on. And so it kind of gave me that amount of time. So let's say you don't shower because you go and practice more or whatever, but let's say whatever that is, it's 30 minutes or 4 hours after you play, you shower. Well, you have that time to be pissed off and frustrated, and then it's over. And so that was something that in high school really helped. But also I'd say the main thing at that time was that burning desire to try to be the best. And I'd still say that's, you know, lit within me, that fire. Um, and so even if things weren't going well, I wanted to do whatever I can. I wanted to work harder. I wanted to do um, better in all these areas to try to become the best. So at a younger age, my process maybe wasn't as good as it is now, versus now I have a great process in play where I'm constantly working on my mental game. I read a ton. I work on, um, you know, meditations. I make sure I have an entire work-life balance where I feel like I'm tackling everything from the emotional, physical, spiritual side. And I feel like if I'm a complete person and my best self, then the best golf's going to come out of me. And so, you know, when any one of those things are off, you can sometimes, unfortunately, it shows up in your golf game and how you handle things. And so now I look at my process from those standpoints. I'm not looking at score. I'm not looking at, um, you know, I'm not looking at the end result. I'm looking at the things that get me to that end result and going, okay, if I'm not getting the results I want right now, well, what is holding me back? And so a lot of times it's hard for yourself to be really honest. So you have someone that helps you, or you learn to be brutally honest. You go, you know what? Maybe I'm spending too much time on this, or maybe I'm neglecting this, or maybe I'm doing this. And so you then come to that realization and you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to reset. And now you get back on track with your process. And I feel like that's the best way to have success, not only in golf, but in school and in business and in life, is to have a process set in place and to stick to it. And you're not always going to be perfect. You know, you're going to screw up. And the best thing is that you go back to that and you go back to your kind of true north, your ground zero, and you work back up from there.
It's so interesting. I mean, you're couldn't not only agree more, but I think for young people that you want to jump steps sometime, right? You have big dreams, you have to dream big, you have a passion, you have that purpose, and then the process is mixed in with our other P's, which is perspective. So I think you have to have people around you and guidance to help you on that path, because perseverance is always going to be there. You mentioned a bit, but can you maybe share a little bit about the the perspective? So people that have influenced you, the Chauncey Billups story is great. We've read about your mom, and just sort of how that true north is guided and how you stay focused and just constantly climbing even when you're facing big challenges.
You know, I think I've been very blessed. I have a bunch of great people in my life that help keep me towards that true north and going where I want to go. But with that, it also comes finding those people and being open to finding those people. So, you know, I feel like sometimes people don't want to ask for help or don't think they need help, or maybe don't want to be vulnerable or don't want to be told no, or don't want the honest truth. And what I will say is I just have this amazing team around me. So it's more than just the people that you guys see. Maybe that's my caddy or any sort of swing coach or putting coach or even mental coach. But I have really good friends and mentors that are also the ones that are really helping me behind the scenes with other stuff as well. That's life advice. That's that's anything. It's really, I have I have two really close people that I go to and I ask them honest questions, and we have real life questions about stuff, and they also are very honest with me, and they'll come up and say, hey, I'm noticing this in you. I don't know if that's just me or is this really going on, and then that leads to other things. So I would just say my team around me is one of the greatest things that helps me stay on track. And so and that, not everyone has that, but I challenge people to always try to find somebody. And, in my story, it's kind of gotten some press on working with sports psychologists and a therapist. I can't, express enough how important it is to talk to somebody and to have somebody that maybe isn't part of your team, if you will, that doesn't have any sort of gain in what happens to you, but truly has an objective outside look, and they can give you advice and help you, either if that's in your sport or if that's relationships, or if that's struggling with school or if that's struggling with the game, whatever it is. And so that's all really helped me. And so my process has become this really kind of holistic, looking at the focusing mainly on the process side. I have zero result goals, and so I'm really into that part of it. And so I've just put people around me to help me. So I don't know if that answers that question per se, but that's just something that I think really helps me, and I challenge anyone to try not to do it on your own and have someone to help you.
And that's huge. And that goes right into that balance. You sort of already mentioned at our school, we talk about, balancing the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual kind of pyramid. And for kids, academic fits into that. And academics are usually, there's a sort of a wall between my athletic persona and then my academic persona. We're trying to break down that barrier by relating topics and applying, like, application based. And so what advice would you give a student athlete, about balancing, a school like ICL, we want to cater a kid's passion for golf, a student, and relate it and apply it to what they're doing in the classroom and vice versa. How are your feelings on that sort of blending of
Yeah.
focus, academics and
Well, three or four things come to mind. I would say the first thing, and I say this as someone that struggled some in this, and I look back and go, you know what, you're building a foundation. And basically the first thing I'd say is to try to do 100% your best in everything you do. So if you're a student athlete, try to be the best student you can be and the best athlete you can be, because if you're always striving to be the best in everything you do, that's only going to make you probably the best in everything you do. And if not, you will feel so much better with yourself. The second thing is, as a student athlete, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but you also have to be realistic. Not many people make it to the highest level. That's just the honest truth. Unfortunately, yes, we'd all love to be top players in the world, but it doesn't happen. So you have to realize that, hey, my fallback is my education and what I'm going to do outside of my sport. And so one, just being real, that's another one, being realistic points.
Do you think a school like ICL would help you? I mean, these are student athletes, we're trying to combine it, instead of separating it. If you had, because you sort of applied that, you're saying that whatever you do, you tackle it with a certain mindset. You know, you, you didn't have an ICL Academy when you were younger or something where you were, the element. Do you think that something like ICL would have also helped you or some of your fellow golfers in that sense of having teachers that understood your schedule, that were applying what you're pursuing in a passion into the classroom and vice versa?
Oh, 100%. I mean, yeah, that would have been amazing. I mean, I went to an awesome school in Denver called Valor Christian that was very, great in athletics, and they understood. But even then, there was a lot of challenges. And so having a school that understands and wants you to be the best you can be in your sport, but also in the classroom, and combining the two is huge. And I think having that balance as a human is massive. I can't just be Wyndham Clark the golfer, because you get too lost in that identity. Because if you don't play well, you're going to feel terrible about yourself, and the highs will never be as high as you expect them to be. So you have to have balance, and you have to be someone outside of your sport. And then, so that's now being that student, that's being a great person, that's being a dad, that's being a great, husband or father or whatever, whatever it is. And so I think the balance is so huge in life. So
Yeah, and the application of all of it, man. You're an example of that, right? A career golf, you're lucky, right? Golf has an extended career over a football player per se or something else. But having said that, the purpose you have gets bigger, right? You won one of the biggest events on planet Earth, the US Open, but you're not done yet, right? And then it starts to develop, well, what can I do on a bigger stage, right? How can I impact people's lives? And so maybe you can talk about going from that purpose to, it seems like you have a sort of super purpose, like something that's even beyond like your golf ability that drives
yeah.
you. Do you
Yeah.
find that?
So, my story, my mom passed away from cancer my freshman year of college. And that was, one of those massive life-changing moments. And I didn't handle it very well for a few years, and played some terrible golf and was in a terrible place. Those are some of the moments I wanted to quit. But I do remember the words as my mom, was kind of on her deathbed, and she told me to play big, to play for something bigger than yourself. And she kind of just almost foresaw that, hey, I think you have so much talent and ability. And if the things in golf really happen and come to fruition of what you want, don't use them for selfish ambitions. Use your platform to really help and inspire others. You're going to have a platform to really do some great stuff. And so that stuck with me for a long time. And as I'm in college, obviously, you don't think about it, but as I've come into success in golf, I realized, you know what? I could go win 50 PGA Tour events and majors, and that's awesome. But I feel like leaving a legacy and having a lasting legacy of helping people through their challenges, and using your life and challenges and adversity and your successes to now help and inspire them to share your story, to do anything you can in that area, I feel like leaves a legacy that's greater than all the accolades you have in your sport. And I think that will last longer. And that's just kind of something that was instilled in me through my mom, obviously, and my parents at a young age. And I just feel a real calling to do that. And so I use golf as something that I do, not who I am. And I use that as something to really show people who I am, which is stuff I want to do to help people and in the community and whatnot.
And that's so, I mean, not only is that commendable, but it drives you, I think, in a way that, sometimes when you're younger, it's hard to find that connectivity, right? It's hard to find like the right coach or the right rituals, or that, there are a lot of people that dream big. Like, as you said, there's a lot of golfers out there. Um, but to see that it's a process, that it's not just results driven. I think our society, there's a lot based on like the results. Um, can you talk, just because we only have a couple minutes left, I guess, would there be any advice you would go back and give like a 15-year-old you? Like there's so many people on here that are obviously having similar dreams. And then if there are any sneaky like rituals, things, because even though you're a golfer, tennis is similar. We have Bodie Miller and Steve Nash, and it all combines, but there's something they all gave a little bit of rituals. If you can share a
Yeah.
little to me.
I'd say the biggest thing at 15, I took the wins and losses too much. Like it was too much emphasis on those. And I'd love to go back and try to have that marathon, not a sprint mentality of, hey, okay, I'm 15 years old. Let's try to, when I'm 25, like have that mindset. Okay, so I have 10 years. I want to be on the PGA Tour, and not let any little adversity happen in high school put me down and really get me down and affect who I am and how I act. And at a young age, it really did. I would lose tournaments or play poorly. I would throw I'd have I'd throw a tantrum, and it would affect me for sometimes a couple days. And um, that's something that I wish I didn't do, because that wears on you, and it makes you start to resent sometimes the game or certain aspects of the game. And I look back at it, it's like, man, if I just would have had that mindset of marathon, not a sprint, and I'm growing, and as long as I'm continually to go up, sometimes it's not as, sometimes it's steep, sometimes it's more of a shallow incline, but as long as I know I'm going in the right direction, I'm going to get to my destination. So kind of that long-term mentality, I think, is huge. And then as far as rituals,
Or habits, or something that, that where 5 a.m. club, or something that you kind of feel like you grab onto.
yeah. So the biggest thing is to start your day outside of what the world is doing. So many, especially as a young kid, you wake up and you turn on your phone, and maybe you'd go on social media or see text messages or check ESPN or whatever it is. I like to start my day reading a book. I like to feed my mind with things that are positive and only going to benefit me. So that's the biggest things. I think spending 30 minutes to an hour before you really start your day is the most important thing to do. And that can be reading a great book, that could be meditating, that could be praying, that could just be spending time in silence, that could be going through a guided meditation, whatever it might be, breath work, all the above is great, because I think then it just sets you up to have more success for that day. And whether that day is an awesome day or a bad day, I think you handle it so much better. So that's kind of my ritual. I try to do that as every day the best I can.
Aiden, I know you had.
I love that. I know we're getting close on time. I want to tie some things together that you said. At ICL, we're really big on character, really big on leadership, and it's interesting. You know this better than anybody. You have a camera on you pretty much at all times when you're on the course, and so it's hard to hide your emotions. Many of our players are in that same boat, and you've talked about, use the words throwing a tantrum, or, I look at you as someone that's incredibly competitive. I was the same way myself, and I want to help separate that a little bit. And what I want to ask you is this: how important is character and leadership, not only on the course, but in life? And how can you, in essence, unhinge those two, where your competitive nature, you getting upset, that doesn't mean necessarily maybe you're throwing a tantrum or something along those lines. You can still have high character and high leadership, but you're still a competitive person. So talk a little bit about how important character is, how important leadership is, not only in the course, but also in life in general.
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to that a little bit earlier. You got to be, you can't let your wins and losses and your attitude and how you sometimes show those on the course affect your character and who you really truly are. And so I believe growing as a person and being someone of high character and somewhat of a leader is so important in our day and age. And, I mean, it's a tough question to answer, but I I sometimes get mad at a shot. Let's just say this. And I react maybe not how I'd want to, but that's just the competitive nature. I get really into it. But I also realize, you know what? That's not necessarily me. That's how I reacted to something, and not let that affect who you truly believe you are.
Yep.
And the best way you can show that is how you interact with people, both on and off the golf course, how you portray yourself in the media, how you truly are behind closed doors, and not just put on some facade and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That is a great question. I'd have to really think about it, but you
But
know,
I
I think your character is one of the most important things that you have. I mean, that's something that I think you should really hold close to yourself and want to try to improve that more than almost anything. If I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I just got to give you kind of a shout out. You just said something that I believe that you actually live, and you talked about, kind of how you show up and things like that. You were in a tough moment end of the last year. You were at the end of a tournament and you missed a putt, and you weren't the guy that you walked away where you missed that putt that it would have led to either a play. I can't remember if it was a playoff or if you were going to win the tournament. I think it was a playoff. I don't know if it was Bay Hill. It wasn't Bay Hill, but it was one of those last tournaments. You'll know it in 2 seconds. I know you will, because I'm picturing you wearing your pink shirt and it happening in that moment. You missed
Yeah,
the
the players, yeah.
Exactly. It was the players. You put up an amazing performance to get back into it. And you didn't storm off, you didn't walk off. And what I appreciate about that, and it goes back to what you just said, it showed your character. You graciously not only walked up and shook your opponent's hand, but I think from what I remember, you stayed after the fact and you signed some autographs and you did some interviews. And it was a crushing time where you could think of it as like, oh my gosh, I just lost a big tournament. But you didn't look at it that way, and you spun it super positively. So I just appreciate how you show up and that character like you just talked about. So
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, those are what you do it for. Those people came to watch me play, and I was very hurt. I went in the locker room and wanted to cry and break things, and I was kind of beside myself. And I remember my agent saying, "Hey, there's a lot of people that want you to sign stuff. Do you want to sign?" And my initial instinct is no, I don't want to. And then I realized, you know what? No, that's not the right thing to do. The right thing is to go out there and sign for them. And you never know who you might inspire. And I was one of those kids one day, and I would love for them to see that and go, I want to be like that, because there was guys that I looked up to that I wanted to be like that as well. So I thought it was the right thing to do. And those are little examples. So I appreciate you bringing that up, but that I think people look at, and that's more important than maybe the person that wins that tournament or whatever it is.
well, I mean, it clearly stuck with me. It's something that I remembered from the tournament and sitting there watching after the fact. And again, it shows who you are and your character. I'm going to let Kirk wrap us. I know you're right at time, Wyndham.
No, it's okay.
I'm going to hit you with a 60-second hot speed round of some of our questions coming in from our
Oh,
students.
that's exactly what I was going to do. We
Yeah,
answered some of them, so I'm going to distill them down. They can be like super short. We got a lot.
Okay.
Who's an idol or someone you looked up to? One or two you could throw out.
My two favorite were Roger Federer and Kobe Bryant.
Look at you. Oh my God. You're rolling with yeah, all incredibly classy and competitive, and yeah, it's amazing. What's your favorite club in the bag?
60-degree wedge.
60. All
okay.
right. What are other hobbies that you enjoy?
I love to fly fish. That's one of my favorite things. I'm a bit of a foodie, so I love to go to great restaurants, try good food, and then I love to travel.
Awesome. Well, we'll jump off of that. Couple places that you love traveling that you've found or
Yeah,
loved.
so I've been fortunate enough. I've kind of traveled a lot of places around the world. I love Japan. I love the culture. I love the food. It's amazing. I love all of Europe. It's amazing. And then living here in Arizona, we're really close to one of my favorite places where I go spend a lot of time, especially during the holidays, is Cabo, Mexico, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico.
They're all awesome. We'll join you there. Favorite course out of all the courses you played, favorite course and most challenging course?
Ooh, favorite course is so hard. I would say just the Monterey area. So Pebble Beach, Cypress, Spyglass. You just put all those as one course. That's my favorite place to go. And then most challenging golf course, man, Pinehurst #2 this last year was really hard, and so is Oakmont. Those are probably the two hardest golf courses.
Wyndham, you got to be honest with me. Did you throw out Pebble Beach because you went out there and just tore it up this year and just
No, I
come
mean,
on?
no, I mean, I should probably say LACC, which is one of my favorite places for sure.
Yeah.
But I've always loved Pebble. Like there's something about just being in that area and you just feel special. It's just even if you're not a golfer, I think you understand how special it is.
Without a doubt. There's some good ones coming in. Best mental drill that you do before going out for a round.
Well, if you have a short time, 5-minute meditation to really slow your mind and get your mind focused on, I like to do some guided meditation. So have someone, whatever you listen to, have that guide you through getting focused or being calm or relaxed. And so I always do that before a round. It's, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, but it just gets you in such a great Zen spot to where you're really focused and content and ready to go out and compete.
Awesome. Last one. After winning the US Open, what type of emotion did you have and sort of highs and lows? Because I've talked to tennis players who have won it, but I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I was in such a great mental spot that whole week that I really didn't think about winning it until I kind of, I thought about on the 15th hole, so one of the last holes, and then I got back into being focused, and then I had a tap in putt to win, and all the emotions hit me, the tears. There was so much joy and happiness, and it just all hit me, and it was amazing. And we had so much fun celebrating with my friends and family because they've been through all of that with me, and there's nothing better than winning but celebrating it with people you love and care about. So those were definitely the highs. The lows of that week, probably whiffing or going under the ball in the 8th hole on Sunday. That was definitely a low.
That's amazing.
This is incredible. We want to really be honorable of your time because we could go all day. People are so excited to talk to you, and you are inspiring. It must feel good. You really are inspiring people on and off the course. We're all mission driven, and to have you give your time to help we call them champion mentors, sharing your story genuinely so appreciated. And I guess there are a lot of people here. We can edit recordings. Or is there anything that when you have a group of fans or people following up, that you would want to give any just advice or encouragement to look at them and chat with them?
Yeah, I was so much about the physical, and I think there is nothing. Hard work can take you very far, right? And working on the physical game can get you to the highest level in sports, which is the professional, PGA Tour for me. But I think to get you to that next level and to the highest level you possibly can, you have to tackle the mental game, and you have to create that balance in your life. And so my biggest challenge is, and I didn't do this, was really work on the mental game and work on that and spend time. And you might only start with 5-10 minutes a day, and it sounds like nothing, but that's a start. And eventually that becomes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, to where you really want to spend time on it and get better at that. Because that's, you look at guys that are at the top of the game, I almost guarantee you they all talk about that rather than hitting another 100 golf balls or whatever it is. That's not necessarily going to win you the tournaments. It's the mental strength.
Wyndham,
My last question, because you mentioned Roger Federer, and I was recently with Roger, who has very recently picked up the game of golf. So,
Yep.
but Rafa is obsessed. Not the prettiest swing, sorry, Rafa. I love you. But Roger's getting it. Have you had a chance to play with Roger yet?
No, we've actually kind of been not directly in contact, but we have a mutual contact that we're trying to get to maybe play around, because I've always looked up to him, and I think he's probably one of the greatest, obviously in his sport, but I think mentally that there is. And I feel like Rafa and Roger and I have. Did you say Rafa or Roger?
Roger, actually.
Yeah. Sorry. That's who I'm talking about. So I just said Rafa.
They're both mental giants. I mean, Rafa.
Yes.
All respect to Rafa. If I had to go to war, I would choose Rafa. Like Rafa lead me.
Yes, 100%. But in golf and tennis, it's all about being in that great mental space. And I feel like Roger and I have a lot in common to where he used to have a really bad temper and dealt with performance anxiety and whatnot. And I felt like he obviously overcame that and became the best player in the world and best of all time. So I want to sit down and I want to ask questions, do exactly what you guys are doing, and I want to pick his brain because I want to get better.
If ICL, we can help you do that. So he's a champion. Maybe we can set up around Indian Wells time when the tournament in the desert.
Yeah,
A
that'd be
lot of
awesome.
So we would be happy to help facilitate that. You guys do have a very similar mindset, and what you give to others and leading by example. And I'm sitting here. I was able to spend time with him a couple weeks ago, and just your vibe. It's very. I think you guys will really get along, and I think he'd be very excited to connect. So I will make sure that
Awesome.
we loop,
Thank you.
loop that in, and we really appreciate it. I mean, on so many levels, and hope that we can come back and keep growing our relationship with you as
Yeah.
champion
Well,
men.
let's do it again when we have more time.
That'll be fun.
Wyndham, thanks again. Can you wrap us up with something that's near and dear to you, and that's your Play Big Foundation? We're big on nonprofit work and giving back. Do you want to give just maybe 60 seconds on what Play Big is and just talk about it really fast?
Yeah. So, as I said earlier, play big was something my mom said to me to play for something bigger than myself. You never know who you can inspire and change someone's life with my platform. So I started the Play Big Foundation, which mainly goes towards families dealing with cancer. So my family obviously dealt with that a ton, not only with my mom, but with aunts and uncles. And so I want to affect families personally. So I don't want to just give money to a big organization. I want to give it to people that actually really need the help, that are struggling to pay for the treatments or food, or to put food on the table, or their kids to go to school, etc. So I want to, that's the big part of it. And then the other part is helping kids that maybe didn't have the opportunities that I had as a young kid to make it in their sport. And I was so blessed to be able to do anything I wanted in golf. And golf has given me that platform. And so I want to give people that opportunity to have the platform that I have so that they can continue somewhat of a legacy of helping other people.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Well, we are mission aligned, and again, thank you so much. We
Yep.
appreciate you, and you got a lot of people rooting for you. So have a great one, and we look forward to seeing you in person and video on TV, the whole nine. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Great
Take
night.
care.
See ya. Appreciate it.